Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. Hopefully, the connection, everything's fine. No promises. After last week's ice storm and all the flooding we're getting today, our internet's far worse than what it normally is, and it's bad enough. Good evening, Bree. I hope my audio's coming in 5x5. But like I said tonight, the title pretty much will says it all. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about in a short amount of time to do it. You know, you guys haven't figured it out. The propaganda war machine is full force. And if you say, we got to look at the contradictions. During when COVID first came out, oh no, it wasn't a lab leak from the Wuhan lab. That was conspiracy theory. Well, now it's been confirmed. They're saying it is. You know, the past couple weeks, we've had China intercepting our fighter jets, giving them stern warnings to stay out of China's airspace. You know, the contested waterway that China says they own, but they don't. The rhetoric is heating up. We had China and Russia having talks. And, you know, we had our lame ass president, wannabe president, on President Day, still coming, instead of coming to Ohio to see what really happened in East Palestine, Ohio, go to Ukraine, promising them yet more money. How is it we're more worried about this administration is more worried about giving aid and funding and money for another country's border when our border is so messed up? We could barely get money passed in Congress to secure our borders. We're still short border agents by a large majority. We have a guy in Texas, and Texas has a right to defend your land law. Defend his land, shoot an illegal, and they want to give him a multi-million-dollar bond and charge him with murder when he was within his rights. Basically telling the American people, you have no right to protect your land, to defend your land. You have no right to keep illegals off your land. But they want your money, they want your taxpayers' dollars to go to a war that we have nothing to do with. Now, I don't want to get caught up on the distraction of the Hunan Labs, that leak thing, because that's what it is. It's a distraction. It's propaganda, psyop, distraction. You know, I would be the first one to admit our biggest enemy is China, not Russia, not whoever NATO says is the current puppet at the time. And that's what it is, guys. They're trying to fill the void. Since I can remember, once the Cold War ended, it was Desert Storm or Iraqi freedom. And we was mired in there. Then 9/11 happened. Then we got mired in still mired in Iraq and then Afghanistan. But we always had a place. We always had troops somewhere. We always had a war that we were fighting. During the Obama administration, when they seen that this was very unpopular and is dwindling down, well, we had President Biden and a few others start focusing on Ukraine, helping Ukraine overthrow a government. Now, I will admit, as an American, it's one thing I'm not proud of. Our government, our Pentagon, our CIA can't mind their own fucking business. They always got to be sticking their nose where it don't belong, stirring shit up. But what they're doing, they're creating the next war, the next place we will be. But the problem is, and this is a very huge problem, that with our borders being what they are right now, we have a war going on our own soil. I'm sorry, I don't believe in coincidence. Too much stuff. This began up to date has happened, but it's been happening slowly, and we're always distracted, so we don't pay it no mind or don't get the attention that it's supposed to. Just like right now, people don't realize that in Britain, France, and Germany, their people are protesting against sending weapons and arms and money to Ukraine. They're in the streets as we speak, protesting. But no, not us. We're too divided for that, and we really are. And we're getting played by both sides of the parties. We're literally getting played. I hear so many people give so much praise to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you guys know last year she bought stocks into Lockheed Martin and for war defense stocks? Quite hypocritical of her when now she's all of a sudden wants accountability for the money to going to Ukraine, isn't it? Very hypocritical when she's calling for a national divorce. Sorry, history's already played that one out, showed it there's no peaceful way because the South did offer a peaceful national divorce. And the North, the Union, said, fuck you. Not going to happen. And a long drawn out civil war pursued. But remember, guys, this is America of 2023. A lot more states, a lot more population, a lot more people, and almost 100 times more division amongst the people, whether it be political labels, because that's how she's spewing it. Break the states up between red and blue. That'll thin our government down. Sounds good, right? But what about the people that are living in the state that are the opposite political faction? Which is most of your rural areas tend to vote red. But because of these big cities that just happen to be in these states that control the elections, like it happened in Michigan, where 3 cities changed the whole state to blue when everything was red, but 3 states or but 3 cities, you will can never get a peaceful national divorce. It'll be in in-state fighting, people against of the opposite label fighting against each other. You'll have your zealots out there. You'll have your racists out there. You'll have your gangs. Everybody will be fighting everybody. It will be open season. I'm going to keep it real. It will be the ugliest thing you can possibly imagine. It will make your nightmares look tame. You'll have people targeting homosexual transgenders. You'll have people targeting Republicans, people targeting Democrats. You'll have church religious factions targeting each other because their way is better, is the right way and the only way. That's what will come with Marjorie Taylor Greene's idea for a national divorce. That's what they want. They all want that. They want us fighting each other. That's why when you go to Twitter, you go to, and you guys don't understand how the psychological warfare game works. They're starting to push the race card even heavier, heavier than they have ever, by showing all these race on race incidents with children. Because what's the easiest way to pull at your heartstrings? Get the children involved. And these have been brutal beatings. I've refused to retweet any of it because that's what they want. They want us to bite into a racial problem when it's not a problem. It's a problem that they created. They created it by bringing critical race theory into our schools. They've created it by pitting people that didn't want to get vaxxed against those that got vaxxed, those that sought alternative medicines, or those that sought natural immunity. And they pitted us against each other. They went as far, and this is how they knew they won. They shut your places of worship down. Unconstitutional, could never be done. If people would have just stood up then and there, we wouldn't be where we're at today. But we gave them the power. We showed them that we don't fear them. But now, you guys say, well, that don't mean we're at war. I don't. Why is so many of our infrastructures going up in flames? Why is it almost every day for the past, since January, since 2023 started, we've had one disaster after another? How many power plants, which by the way, as of last week, it was up 71%, the attack on our power grid, on power substations. People going, shooting them up, causing millions of people to be without power. It's been happening since last year, and it's growing. But 3 weeks ago, I think it was Utah or Oklahoma, I think, somewhere in there, military National Guard unit opened fire on people that were doing it. Come to find out, the people that were doing it were FBI agents, and that was actually confirmed by the governor of that state. It happened. Every major incident, I can go clear back to Kyle Rittenhouse, the FBI has been there on the ground, filming, instigating. We have more violence. We've had more buildings. Fertilizer plants caught on fire. Lumberyard in Brooklyn got caught on fire. A bunch of major produce production facilities have caught one up in flames. Buildings burned to the ground. You know, one here and there, but when they start happening every day or every other day, but the problem is this has been happening for the last 2 years. Huge chicken farm went up in smoke. We already got a shortage of eggs, but hey, if you try to bring eggs back from Mexico, they're going to detain you at the border and maybe charge you with trying to smuggle contraband into the United States. But the illegals can come freely in with all their fentanyl, oxycodone, and various other drugs and the human trafficking that's going on. But, we've heard some stories. We've heard that a lot of Chinese have been coming through. A lot of Muslims have been coming through our border. Not the Southern and South American people. Thought of that, but, we've discussed sleeper cells on this channel a few times. Some of us have it, well, some of it somewhat documented how some of this went down, how they were recruiting. They've been preparing for this for a while, but We're always too busy arguing amongst ourselves. Or culture drama. What's the culture news for the day? I don't give a fuck. I don't care what the overpaid prostitutes of Hollywood or music industry are selling or doing, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're prostituting themselves out for the money and pitching the government's propaganda. If you guys haven't figured that out in the past 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, for as long as Hollywood's been around, it is the government's propaganda machine. They are nothing but a bunch of overpaid prostitutes, just like our athletes. I don't care what they're doing. Can I tell you what they're not doing? They're not defending you when your rights are being taken away. They're not speaking up against what they know is wrong, against the corruption that's going on in their own little communities. They do what they get paid to do. And because that most of them live in fear of losing that money, they will continue to prostitute themselves out like a bunch of whores so they can live the lavish lifestyle while we suffer. That's why they don't make no new movies. It's always remaking something else. Then when they go to remake it, it's nothing but propaganda and psychological warfare to push the current administration's propaganda or rhetoric. I haven't seen a good movie in forever. Now it's well known that the militaries use movies and stuff to push and get people used to new technology. We'll introduce it to them now, so when we do bring it out, they won't be shocked. It'll be just common sense, common, like it's always been there. But here we are. We are literally at a crossroads. Our government ran amok a long time ago. We have no control over our government. They aren't our representatives, and they're supposed to be our representatives. No, they're going in there, getting rich, continuing to get rich, making investments, future investments, because, well, we're going to be pushing this next new war, so it's time to invest in some national defense stock, Lockheed and Martin, and various other corporations that build our weapons of war. And we'll get fat off of it because this administration is going to push a war. They don't make money during peacetime. And that's been the old ideology. War brings in money. Everybody makes money except the working class, the everyday citizens. We don't make money. We're the ones who end up having to send our children off to war. Some of us will have to go ourselves because we're not aged out or we still have a vital importance, whether it be used for training soldiers or training cybersecurity or whatever our little niche is that they know about. We are a product to them. Our only value to them is our labor. War thins down populations. The ugly truth is this administration is hell bent on pushing a war. If they can't get it overseas, they'll get it here. Then they'll come in like white knights in shining armor, saving you and stripping you of every last freedom that you have. Oh no, you guys can no longer possess weapons. You can't have freedom of speech. No, this is what you guys have done with all this stuff. In truth, we haven't really done nothing because it's been so controlled. And they use that to pit us against each other. If we thoroughly research something and bring the facts to you that goes against the status quo of that administration, of that propaganda, we are the conspiracy theorists. We are the enemy. We are the ones that are going to get suspended, blocked, channels taken down, and punished because we're refuting what they say is truth, which is our job. As a U.S. citizen, our job when they do something wrong or when we catch them in a lie is to point it out. That is our due diligence. They don't want us doing our due diligence. They want us keeping silent. Hence the lockdowns. Hence the control, restricted movements. And they did it through fear. They attacked us through fear. They always attack us through fear. Oh, you say this, it's going to offend this transgender. Piss off. What's your DNA? Okay, so fuck off. You're either male or female. There ain't no other. You want me to respect you for what you want to be? Then respect my views and opinions on it. I have no problems with homosexuals. A bunch of friends that are, but they know. They know the boundaries. They don't, and it's not even about that. To them, we're just friends. I don't see each other as straight or gay. We're just friends. But we know there's a boundary there, and we respect that, and we get along. I got friends of all religious beliefs. We all get along. They all know mine, but it doesn't interfere in our friendship. We respect that it's their each other's spirituality, and that's the path we'll walk, that we chose to walk. It ain't about who's right or wrong, because we'll never know. None of us. We'll never know until the day we die, and whatever happens, happens. Why argue about it? It is the unknown. I'm not going to argue with something about something the unknown. I'll rather sit here and philosophize with you about it, have a nice debate about it, but in the end, more than likely you're not going to change my mind. And I'm definitely not going to change your mind because that wasn't my intention. My intention was just to make you question things within your own belief structure, the things that are controlling you. That's not spiritual. Every religion has their little spiritual portion, their truths. Once you strip away the dogma, but no, that's been the number one weapon used against the people of this world since people realized it could be used against them. Oh, you're not of this faith, you're the enemy. You're not of this belief system, you're the enemy. And honestly, to this day, nobody knows whose religion was first. We know whose wasn't. Until Rome, there was no Roman Catholic Church. It was just Judaism and Islam that we know of, but that's not entirely true either. Anybody knows their history and knows their cultures and studied cultures and histories, you know that every group of people from around the world had their own belief systems, their own religion. What changed? When empires grew and conquered territories, they forced their beliefs and systems upon them. They took from them what they thought could work and empower theirs and changed the names. So why are we arguing about these things? Why would we allowing them to divide us amongst these things? We got our own problems right here. And that problem starts with each and every one of us who can't get along and want to argue and call each other whatever name in the book that divides us when we adhere to a Republican Democrat label that's meant to divide us. We're their weapon. While they go off and do things over here while we're distracted because they pitted us against, stoked the fire a little bit, then they went on and went and did something behind our backs. We should never be funding any wars. What has Ukraine done for us? Not a damn thing. What has Russia did to us? Technically nothing compared to China. But let's ask the question in reverse. What have we done to them? The same thing they've done to us. Don't mind our own business. Some say the Cold War ended. Did it? No, it didn't. It ended with Russia. We just moved it along to China. We've been having a Cold War with China since then. How do you people realize we're actually, our governments and NATO is forcing two of the world's greatest enemies to unite? Do you know your history well enough? You know how much hatred is between the Russians and Chinese throughout history? We're forcing two of the greatest enemies to be somewhat allies. Not that that will last. I mean, during World War II, we were allies with Russia, but our allies come and go. We eventually stab them in the back for our own political and evil agendas. Instead of being peaceful, we allow these rich and elitists to run amok, say what they want without refute. Because if you refute them, you're a conspiracy theory. You're an enemy. You have no right to question. It is the Dark Ages all over again. Instead, we're just not calling you heathens and heretics and burning you at the stake yet. That's what those terms are created for. Take the words heathen, heretic, and pagan to their root origins. It was created by the Catholic Church, first used by the Catholic Church to label the common folk. Those that were free thinkers, free minded, that had their own opinions and views. History is so rich with such evil acts that we should never be repeating or using the same tactics. But here we are. This is the same tactics. We just change the name and keep using the same thing. No one bats an eye. Why? Because they know they can pit us against each other and we'll get caught up fighting amongst ourselves. I look at YouTube. YouTube is full of niches. You have gamers, you have political, you have do it yourself people. But in a sense, we're all one community. We should never be arguing and fighting amongst ourselves. When they go after one person, somebody, we should stand up for them if they weren't in the wrong, no matter what they're talking about or what they're doing or saying, because that's part of our community. But no, too many people. Well, I don't agree with what they're saying. They deserve to get taken down. Yep. You know, you guys can obviously tell I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church is coming under attack. We had a couple students, because of what they were wearing, get kicked out, gets removed from places, which because of their beliefs, because they don't believe in abortion, or because, as the one kid's shirt said, there's only two genders, and he got kicked out of, I think it was the Aerospace Museum. while with his school, private school, which was a Catholic church private school, been to one, great education, but because I was brought up Baptist or because don't claim Christianity anymore, I should not defend that religious group, even though I know the atrocities that the Catholic Church has done throughout history. No, because that that happened here on U.S. soil. They have a right to their freedom of their belief, freedom of religion, and they have a right to express themselves. That's protected. And that kid was in the right for expressing his beliefs, his spiritual beliefs. So, yes, I would stand up for that kid and be vocal about it and have. I'm not a Catholic. I don't agree with Catholicism. I mean, it has some perks. I mean, let's keep it real. I can do whatever I want as long as I go to Mass and do my little penance. I'll be on my merry way, right? I mean, inside joke, but you know what I mean. We can joke about it. It's funny, but I have respect because they have their belief. That's their belief. Because I tell you what, if they get that off, you're next. What's your belief? Baptist? Oh, you're next. You talk about transgenderism, you go against the school board for teaching gender identity, you're next. They'll kick your kid out of school. They'll kick your kid church group out of one of our national institutes because they're wearing that shirt. Oh, you're a Satanist? Oh, you're next. And you are next. Doesn't matter what label we are. If we let one of our brothers and sisters, we're American first and foremost. We let one of our brothers and sisters go down and not stand up with them when we know what happened is wrong. Yes, it might go against our beliefs, but we know that was unconstitutional. They had no right to do that. See, we have the ultimate common ground. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all Americans. And we forget that. No, it's Black History Month. You white people need to bow down and kiss my boot. Fuck off. Go back to Africa and make them kiss your boot. They're the ones that put your forefathers on the boats, not mine. I know my history. You want to talk about rep, reparations? What about the Irish that was forced over here in slavery? What about the Polish people that was forced over here by slavery? What about all the indentured servitude white people that was brought over here to work the slave lands to pay back the debt that they couldn't afford? Right side by side, the other slaves. They leave that part out, don't they? Told you, I'm not holding back. Not biting my tongue no more. As an adult, 45-year-old adult, it is my responsibility to teach the younger generation. It's your responsibility to be teaching your kids the right form of history. What they're seeing is wrong. Violence upon just to be punching people out, that's wrong. To be running amok in California, walking in the stores with big groups of people and walking out not paying for it, that's wrong, illegal. They should be arrested and held accountable. But they're black. No, they're a criminal. You want to put an end to that? Enforce the law. It's really that simple. You want to throw hate crime around? Hate crime is equal. Doesn't matter. It can be black on white. That's a hate crime. If it's white on black, that's a hate crime. There ain't no two differentials. Asian on white, Asian on black. Black on black could be considered a hate crime because everybody hates something. Parents standing up to school boards is not domestic terrorism. And the politicians that say it is should never be voted back into office. That's common sense because that is your job. That is your right. That's not the federal government's right. You know what? That's also our states' problems. Our states need to stand up against the federal government when they do stuff like that. But our states are just as corrupt, just as greedy, using the same tactics. You want a national divorce? Think about your state, how much power it has. Because actually, the state has a lot of power over our national government if they choose to enforce it. Our national government doesn't control the National Guard. Our state governments control our National Guard, which I disagree with that anyway. We are supposed to be the militia, not a group of people that's holden to the state or federal government. We were supposed to be the stop block against runaway governments, whether it be state or federal. But they don't want that because if we have well organized militias, we had well organized militias right now. Do you think they would be doing the things that they're doing right now? No, they would not because it would keep them in check. It was a checks and balance to keep governments from getting too out of control and too tyrannical. But hey, if you're a militia member, part of the militia, you're a domestic terrorist. When our real domestic terrorists are sitting in office right now, those are the real terrorists and traitors and insurgents against this country. When they refuse to protect our borders and strengthen our borders, but will send millions of billions, over $100 billion worth of aid, weapons to a country we have no allegiance to, that's not allied with NATO, we have a problem. When we have just anybody coming in across our borders to do who knows what, we got a problem. And it's a problem that they refuse to fix. You know, I watched it when Texas wanted to send their National Guard to the border. All the backlash that came from it. I watched a bunch of people where here comes the label game, the Republican and Democrat labels. Oh, no, one side's for it, one side's against it. And, we have the other side, don't believe that any form of military should bear weapons on U.S. soil. I got a problem with that. If we don't have militias, then who's going to bear weapons on U.S. soil to defend our country? Because we'd just be sanctioned as criminals, terrorists, above the law vigilantes if we did it. We got a rancher sitting in jail right now who abided by the law, defended his property, and shot somebody to protect his family and his property in Texas. It is time we wake up. It's time we stop paying attention to the propaganda, stop paying attention to the shit that they're intentionally using to make us pit each other against each other. You know what? I don't want to see this transgender crap in my feed. Thinking about it, what I said about Hollywood celebrities, they're a bunch of prostitutes and whores, bunch of divas. That's what these guys these guys dressing up as women, babies, whatever, on TikTok are doing. They're just looking for attention. They're attention whores, and you're giving it to them. You're paying them every time you go click on that TikTok video to go see it for yourself. Every time you retweet that video or share it, and somebody else shares it, you're just as guilty. You're pushing it. You're feeding their addiction, and you're putting money in their pocket. So why are they going to stop? You're helping fuel that fire and keep it going when it could easily just die out by ignoring it, killing it with silence. You don't have to ignore it, talk about it amongst yourselves. Don't have to share the images. If you're not sharing the images, sharing the links, you're not feeding the problem. Back to the old saying, don't feed the trolls. But it's okay to talk about it. But yet they know we'll do it. So they'll send in a couple of their informants to instigate and light the little match, and off we go with it. Next thing you know, it's got millions of views because it's getting plastered all over the place and shared. Stop sharing it. Stop being their tool. Start focusing on what's really going on here. And yes, that is going on here. For those going to contradict me and say, well, that's stupid because yeah, it's going on here. You're right, but that's not important now, is it? What's more important is the shit's being taught in our schools. What's more important is getting the parents that don't know, not aware about it, aware about it. What's more important is all of you parents showing up at the school board and demanding this stops. Uniting, not dividing. Taking a stand with your fellow brothers and sisters, not the labels, because they're not a label. They are your fellow brothers and sisters. They are your fellow Americans. Quit buying into the psyop. Quit allowing them to divide you. Take a stand. Put that fucking middle finger up in the air and say, fuck off. We're done. There's a thin lead red line and you cross it and the bullshit stops right here. We're done. That's how we start taking back America. That's how we start taking back our Congress. That's how we start letting them know your free reign's over. You're our representatives. You're our voice and you're going to start acting like it or you're out. Or we're going to start finding convenient ways to out you with the truth. Marjorie Taylor Greene, no better than the rest of the swamp, making money on stocks, spiking the fire, calling for a national divorce when she ain't stupid. For those that think AOC is stupid, you're deadly wrong. Probably two of the most dangerous women sitting in Congress right now, right there, because they're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it. For somebody who wants to talk about national divorce, maybe she should focus on her own personal life and her own divorce issues instead of pushing her own divorce issues on the American people. Now, what we need is a divorce from our government. We need to thin that bitch down. We need to get rid of all the corruption, all these political career rhinos, all those that say they represent us, but they only represent us when it comes time for our vote. We need to stop allowing people to run for election who aren't physically healthy enough to run for an election to make their term. Like Fetterman, like a Biden, who can't string a coherent sentence together. And we got bigger problems. Some of these AI videos I've seen being made right now, man, let's talk about dangerous waters. Now, I did see the one today with Biden talking about calling for a 2023, calling for a basically the draft. I can't remember the exact term. The only way you knew it was AI because it was perfect sentence, perfect talking, and we all know Biden can't talk, can't coherently keep a sentence together. It was just too perfect. But unfortunately, some people don't have that problem, and it would be easy to say, "Well, you said this. I never said that. I never even did a video." Well, no, it's yeah, AI, video editing, voice editing. No, no. We definitely need to be putting some rules and laws and effects to prevent the misuse and abuse of that. But why? Look how many news media, major news networks use green screens and say they're reporting from here when they're sitting right in the office. Or when they want to stage something and they've been caught. ABC's been caught, CNN's been caught, MSNBC's been caught lying to you. But that's what they're supposed to do. That's their job. Their job is to spread the propaganda of the party they're affiliated with, the label they're affiliated with. Just like somebody says, well, Zuckerberg needs sued for the multi-million-dollar contribution he gave to, I don't know, some Democratic Party. Well, technically, Zuckerberg, under Meta or whatever affiliate group he used to donate that money, was within the rights of the law of the land because of our Supreme Court. Hey, justice mysteriously dies and it's covered up so fast that they ignored federal law when it comes to a Supreme Court justice, and there was no federal autopsy done because they cremated his body within 24 hours before the federal government could get out there to get his body. And 6 months later, next thing you know, they changed it to where corporations are made up of a bunch of U.S. citizens, so therefore the law does not apply to them and how much they can contribute. So you cannot sue them for donating and influencing elections, and they do influence elections. So, when they say, oh, you can't question an election. Yeah, I can. You can't say in schools. Yes, I can. When a corporation, many of which have foreign investors and foreign shareholders that are at the top of the corporation, influence their election by donating money to campaign funds to spread their propaganda, who's going to show favor to them, that's influencing an election. At its worst case, that's no better than what the mob did. In fact, you could probably go after a lot of these corporations with the RICO Act. Because that's exactly what the mob did. They paid off the judges, they paid off the policemen. Our Congress is no better than the mob. Actually, they took all the dirty little tactics from the mob. They know how to get away with it. They write the laws that protect them, but punish us. And the problem is, we're always too divided to take a stand when we see it and we know what happened and we know it's wrong. And when they start seeing us do stuff like that, they come up with a new distraction to distract us. Or they dig the propaganda in deeper to try to pit us against each other. You can't question science, but that's what science is. Science is to question. The whole idea of science is to question the existence. Does it work? Will it work? And to try it repeatedly to See if it can succeed or fail. Not to be immediately pushed out and said it's fact, it will work when it doesn't work. No, never trust the science. You're supposed to question the science. In fact, you want to take it one step farther? Just follow the money, follow the funding. Because you got two groups of scientists out there. You got those who can't get funding, but are still putting out scientific papers and scientific research, underfunded, and it always seems to be the opposite of those that are funded. Basically, the funded ones, the government's propaganda mouthpiece. The non-funded ones are the ones that pretty much well pushing, telling you the truth, the facts. But hey, we can't see that. But Wikipedia says this. Well, the reason why my IP address is still banned from Wikipedia because I exposed them 7 years ago. You have no control over Wikipedia. If you dispute something that you know is right and you fight it, you'll eventually get your IP address banned. But I have all that documentation. Showed it to everybody, did live videos while I was fighting them over it. No, you don't. Even if it was my article, and it was, one of them was my article, and one of them was B. Rich's article. And one of it was, then one, no, it wasn't B. Rich. B. Rich questioned the article, saying they got it wrong. And he brought, as a news investigator, he brought the facts, exact facts, and emails, stuff that was quoted from the DC Metro Police on this such case. Well, they said, well, that's not accurate. You can't prove it. They didn't say that. What? That's not a legit source. Wait, he's a certified news reporter. How's that not a research? And it came right from the chief police. Oh no, can't question it. Can't make the changes. If you changed it, it got changed back. Somebody comes in. Oh no, that might be your article, but you can't say that. We're going to change it. And if you keep changing it, we're just going to lock you out of it. Come to find out, I had a bunch of people start sending me stuff, especially when it came to pseudosciences. How they would target these articles and lock the people that created these Wikipedia pages, put the facts, all the little things you got to do, because you got to do a lot of things, footnotes and everything to back your proof. Come to find out, Wikipedia in itself says we don't have no control over that. It is a group of people that create and dictates what's allowed and not. It isn't the company that does that. I'm like, really? So then why do you as a company decide to block my IP address and ban me from my own article? And like I said, the stuff you're seeing happen on Twitter and that was all beta tested on smaller platforms like Ning, smaller hosting platforms, MySpace. They were testing that when we were over there before we were anywhere else. While we were creating these websites and building these, some of them were huge platforms. I mean, at one point in time, I was adminning one that was over 250,000 people. And the traffic that was on there hourly was insane. Steam started going after them. I mean, eventually they got off the platform, but eventually they ended up going under. They started doing the same thing, and people left. Nobody wants to have their told what you can post, what you can say, what you can write. But they beta tested over there, and they figure, okay, they'll just run. They ain't gonna stand up to us. They can't. And they seen that, so they started perfecting it. Next thing you know, look what they've done on Twitter, Facebook, all these platforms. They learned from it. And here we are today with all the censorship issues that are going on. Some of us get by, I mean, I went 7 years, 6 years without ever getting a strike, but I seen it from everybody else. One, I don't monetize. Two, I keep my channel small. So I'm a small pinprick on their radar. But eventually I got caught. I got caught last October. They deleted 2 of my videos because I was talking about, because me and Sword.9 were talking about elections. And everything we said in it was factual. That's what really burnt my britches. Nothing we said wasn't fact because it's been later come out as fact. And I pointed that out, and YouTube said no. You cannot talk about election fraud or influencing elections. Basically, somebody stumbled across my channel and got butt hurt, and because I still say what I want. But if I was like Tim Pool, Dabu, Be Rich, or any of these other guys, oh no, I'd have almost every video deleted by now. So we can control these things, you know. Yes, I got to put a little bit more work on because I got to spread my content out for various platforms, but I still reach a high number of people. It just doesn't show it here. But they use that as a control factor. They use that to discourage us from talking about these things. I know people. Over on mine, my videos get shared a lot. Over on Gab, they get shared a little bit. They get shared on Rumble. They get shared on Twitter, on Facebook. But it doesn't reflect the algorithm here on YouTube. I've got videos over on the mine. It's got 10,000 views. But I only got 71 subscribers over here. Most of my videos say, well, here of late, barely break 7 views. But yet I go over the mine. It's got over 500 views already. Okay. I know you just got to play the game. You got to put the content out there. You got to let other people do the thing. You got reach. You don't have to have all these numbers. I don't need 1,000 people. I don't want your super chat. I don't want to be able to stream on my phone because I can stream on my phone right from Jitsi to here, which I'm doing right now. I'm not streaming from YouTube. I'm just using YouTube for the video because I'm not going to pay Rumble to pay to play. It's like I'm not going to pay Twitter for a blue check mark. I don't need a label. If you like my content, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I don't care. It's not meant for you anyway. It's meant for the person that stumbles across it. It's meant to hear the message, who shares it with other people, because that's what was meant to happen. Oh no, I got to have all these likes. No, I don't. Quality over quantity. It's not about what they trick us into. Oh, you can make all this money if you do this. Oh yeah, but if I do this, I can't talk about this. I can't talk about anything really. I give them control over everything. Just give it away. And I refuse to give anything to any power to anybody. But hey, it's almost that hour mark, and I'm not doing a 2-hour video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch you guys all on the next one whenever I decide to do it. But I think with the next week or so, it's going to get closer to the last video for a while because I'll be moving. So hoping to get my Suburban back out of the garage this week. It's going on 4 weeks. It's been in the garage, so that's really what I'm just waiting on. That and my income tax to come in, and it's moving time again. But like I said, till the next one, you guys be safe. Enjoy your week. Think about some of the things I said. Question things, but stop letting them divide you. You guys all have a good night.